Hello everyone, welcome to another Lufenia run on the channel. I'm Type Zoe, and this is Strago's last chapter featuring Galuf, Trey, and Krile. So this fight, I would say, is middle of the road difficulty compared to the stuff we've gotten recently. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but there's a couple mechanics to watch out for that we're mostly going to ignore with Galuf. So this team is not exactly a great team to learn the fight with, in my opinion, but it definitely pretty safely deals with the fight itself. We've got an off-turn focused damage building combined around Trey's LD trap and his various skills, along with Galuf's counters, and Krile provides a thunder enchant to help us hit weakness damage, and she also batteries us so that our counters are going to be hitting for lots and lots of damage. Getting into the fight itself a little bit, Wave 1 is not the most difficult thing in the world. As you can see, we are turn 5 and already through almost a third of their health. Most of the health is loaded into the second wave because that is the wave with the orb, and the orb is a Thunder and Holy combination. Each one will uptick the orb by 1, and they're trying to sell Ashe, who has both the Thunder and Holy elements in her enchant, but you can get around this by using, say, Paladin Cecil and Krile or Dash together. Or, as you can see, with off-turn damage, we're just going to be able to use Krile herself and be totally fine with the orb. But anyway, back to the match at hand. These guys have one or two dangerous things. I've sped up the recording of this run by 200% because it was a very long run thanks to all the counter animations and the trap animations and stuff like that. It was almost 30 minutes, so we don't want to be sitting here for that long. These guys have an all attack, which is somewhat threatening if you let them get it off back to back. But luckily, we were able to fix up the turn order, so they're going to be taking it in different turns. And Galuf is in the center of the party of the turn order for a good reason, actually. So the way their all attack is coded is that it is going to put more of the HP damage in the center unit, which is where Galuf is standing. And Galuf is actually going to dodge, so that way Krile and Trey are going to be avoiding some of the damage they might otherwise have taken, and it's going to mean I don't have to use any of my Waka or Gabranth calls on this wave. As you can see, we live just fine. Trey gets a little close to dying, but not a big deal. We've got the HP regen, and we are going to finish this up around turn 13. Or turn 14, actually. I think I saved Trey's EX for wave 2. Yep. Hopefully the recording of this one goes a little bit better than the last time. I was having a little bit of difficulties, obviously with my phone, because I dropped off the face of the earth for like a month, but even just the last couple of voice commentary I was doing, it was having some trouble picking up the audio, so hopefully this goes a little bit better as we make our way into wave 2. So these guys are definitely a little bit more annoying. They've got some mechanics to deal with, a couple different colored auras. I actually haven't really checked out any of the resources for this fight. I went in semi-blind, only knowing kind of the staple rolls and enchant and instant break that I wanted. Originally, I was trying to use Ishtola instead of Galuf, but that didn't go super well. Her battery kind of overlaps with Krile's a lot, and her delays aren't super useful for an off-turn focused team, and Trey really appreciates giving the bosses as many turns as possible, so that's kind of why I ended up with going Galuf instead. His damage mitigation also really helps with some of the HP attacks in this fight. Okay, so their blue aura is pretty annoying. They absorb all physical damage regardless of where it comes from or whether it's enchanted or not. But the way we get around that, even without Trey's instant break, is Galuf's cover is going to block their single target HP attacks that they go for after they charge the bravery. And as soon as they dump their bravery into Galuf, it dumps to 0, and he breaks them on the counter, which conveniently dispels the blue aura. So it's just a really nice way to not have to particularly plan around that mechanic, which otherwise would be very frustrating for this team, I think. Get our first Gabranth call in. It's always nice to put the LD call up when you already have debuffs and save the skill 1 call for when the enemy has cleansed, and that's just a general tip to maximize the use of his HP damage up. It's like the little things that really can add up in my opinion, so trying to optimize on the micro level is just as important as like the big flashy plays and stuff like that. Here you can see our traps and our counters doing some great work in keeping that orb up. And it's not as important for the 50% phase because, or I mean, it's not as important for the 20% phase, excuse me, because we're going to get those down pretty quickly, but for the 50% phase from 50 to 0 for the orb, we're definitely going to be needing to make sure our traps stay up, and Trey's skills can sometimes help with that as well. And we are going to save our summon for that part because it gives us a little more leeway in managing the orb, which still, even with our off-turn stuff, can get tricky. They do cleanse sometimes, which obviously is a problem for Trey and everyone really for the debuffs and the imperil. And during the blue aura, when they're absorbing damage, Trey and Galuf have no way to tick the orb up. Only Krile will be able to at that point, so they can often shave a few turns on their orb timer during those parts. So it's just good to save the summon and give yourself some breathing room. Turns. I did beat this once before just to get the initial clear and kind of learn what the fight was about. Like I said, I still haven't looked at the resources yet, like the Dissidia info boss guide from Scott On or anything like that, so once I do some more runs, probably some more interesting characters, I do want to bring back Y'shtola for this one because I think she could be interesting. Maybe with Palom, to be honest, I could see that working out. She can Medica to leave him some breaks, so we'll see if that ends up working, but what was I saying? I completely lost my track of thought. I think I was saying that I'm not sure who I'm going to bring, but this probably won't work for the TCC challenge since I have a good feeling Galuf is going to be banned because of something like this, where he is completely negating all of the blue aura mechanic and he just completely lets you bypass it, so he's probably going to have some pretty high usage, and I think other than the synergy characters, he might be the best target for ban. Because I think banning Paladin Pecil, who is the other one I could see, is a little bit tough because he's the most common holy enchanter people have, but I guess there is Kuja available, so it might be a Pecil ban, but my guess is Galuf. They're once again going to dump their Brave into Galuf, and we will counter and get rid of their blue aura, so that has worked out nicely. Tifa friend in the back still as well. I misplayed a little bit. I think I should have brought her in earlier, but I'm trying to remember what happened that I didn't want to bring her. Was it that I wanted to keep the cover for a little longer? I can't quite remember. It might have been I wanted to keep the cover for the white aura. Let's see, because those guys, they get like a sap or a brave gain or something. Or it might just be a normal regen. See. Nope, it looked like a sap from Galuf there, so that's why I kept Galuf in a little longer. I wanted him to be able to cover and to stay in for the mitigation for the all attack that letter A was going for. What you're going to see is not going to do that much damage because it's going to dodge Trey as well, so only Krile's going to take the HP damage there, but we would have lived if I hit both of them, so not a big deal. And then I think this is when I'm finally able to bring Tifa in. She just spits out loads of damage. I really love her as a friend unit because I think she allows you to run very interesting team comps, and there's kind of a meme that Tifa just blows everything up and she's super overtuned, but as a friend unit, she can really let you get away with some things. Like, I ran 7-9 in Kadaj for the story chapter of 3.3.1, and Tifa Friend really made that a lot more comfortable when I was not able to actually have a way to deal with the recast other than calls, so I was glad for her then. I haven't pulled her actually, and I don't really think I will. Her banner's up for a few more days, but I'm pretty confident in my ability to clear content without her, and I have zero attachment to the character, so just not somebody I'm really looking out for. If you're new, I highly recommend you do get her though, because she is amazing, and you will not regret picking her up. It's the casual 700k probably coming here. Yep. And that is really all you need from her. So we're looking really good. We're at about the halfway mark on the turn count, and they only have about a third of their health left, so 25% of the fight's 2 waves total HP, so we're golden, and we're going to use our summon pretty soon because the orb does get a little bit lower when we don't have Galuf doing those counters. So Kyle's going to throw EX up here, give us a little more battery, and then we'll get to work. to save Trey's last LD for when it completely falls up, because I'm not quite sure what the cleanse thresholds are, and I don't want to have his firewall cleanse like immediately after applying it, so it's kind of why I save it even though I have one each. And this is when I decide to go for the summon. I was just kind of checking Galuf's LD buffs. I haven't quite gotten the muscle memory with him yet. I think once you practice with units a lot, you kind of gain like just an intrinsic knowledge of when their buffs and debuffs cycle and how to upkeep them correctly, and I've only used Galuf on I think one fight before this, so I'm still kind of learning how his rhythm works, and he's a very simple character to play, but it's mostly just I forget to click on his buffs sometimes, so I've had his LD run out before, and that is not very fun. Get some really nice launches in the summon. That timed out super well, and they're looking super low. We're gonna EX buff here. We've gotten the orbs back to max, so that's perfect for the end of the fight, and yeah. I'm fine not giving Trey another summon turn here, because we are doing so well in turn count, so I get that Ray of Hope to refresh the weakness buff, and also give Krile some battery. Here I go for the EX debuff. I think they cleanse almost right after this, so I probably should have saved that, but at least I saved the LD, which was the more important part. Use Galuf's last Shirodori there, keep his buffs up, and we will LD with him next turn. So Galuf is going to cover those last two hits, and the blue aura, I think we're just tossing out the calls for whatever reason, to be honest, because I don't have much use for them. I think I opt to let them just dump their bravery into Galuf, and I use the Rocket Call after we see them break. Trey is going to put his firewall back on, which is going to get some nice damage on after we dump. But you can see just how quickly the orb ticks down when they're in their blue aura, because Trey and Galuf don't have that thunder damage because they're getting absorbed, so it's nice that we are able to keep it safe and get them back up to a healthy 6 or 5, because something that is a good thing to remember is if a boss has 2 on its orb left and it attacks you, even if your off-turn damage is going to bring the orb back up higher from 0, it's still going to trigger the countdown as long as it hits 0 at some point in time, so that's a good thing to remember. There's going to be some nasty all attacks coming up here from one of them, so I'm going to pop my Pecil call and my Waka calls to try and help myself there. I'm going to get some overhealing and a defense buff, and I'm trying to rig to fish for a confuse from my Waka call on Krile, so I don't think I get it, but we're going to live the all attack pretty comfortably, I think. Let's see, do I get it? Nope, I get the freeze, which is not super helpful when you've already given the boss a lot of brave, but we shave it down a little bit, and at least it can't get any... Oh, it cleansed anyway, so never mind, everything I just said there was useless, but we had the Pecil call and the overhealing and the defense boost in combination with Galuf, so we were safe. And yep, we are going to finish the fight at a solid 47 turns. I think I improved my turn count on my initial clear by like 10 or 11. I think it was 58 or something like that, but thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the run, and see you next time. Goodbye!